All right, welcome back. This is the last tutorial on reports, which is again another view of the data that's present in the database. Okay, just remember that we have two tables and a query. The query basically listed accounts that the business considered rich. Let's say a balance greater than $1,000. Okay. So for this report, let's assume that we want to show the results of the query. You see the results of the query here in a tabular format. I want to show them in a nicer format. Okay, so I'm going to use the reports to do that for me. All right, so let's close the query, close everything else you might have, switch back to this new object called reports. Okay, so what we would do here is to create a new report, and we would use the wizard to do it, not the design view but the wizard view. Okay, so find a button that's similar to report wizard, create new report, report wizard. Okay, and again, depending on the version you have, the interface might look slightly different, but choose the right button, create new report, report wizard. Okay, and again, you'll see dialog box is very similar to when we created forms. It lists all the data, data from tables and queries that are already present. Okay, so tables and queries. So in this case, because we want to create a nicer report for the list of rich accounts, we choose query rich accounts, and you notice that we have the exact same number of fields we had available before. Okay, again, if you want to show the balance, you can always go back to the query design and uncheck the show button. Okay, rather check the show button so you can see the additional account balance. Okay, you can also add other fields if you want, but I'm going to leave them as it is. I'm going to move them all to this selected fields column. Okay, click next, and now again, if you notice, the axis is giving you nice ways of formatting. It says, do you want to view a data by customer or by accounts? I'm going to pick customer. Okay, I'm going to select next, and it also says, do you want to group them? Let's say that, for example, I want to see customers by the cities they live in. I say, okay, group by customer city. Okay, again, this is going to make a lot more sense when we have hundreds of records with customers from multiple cities. Okay, it's a nice bird's eye view of information about the customer or about the accounts with balances more than a specific set number. Okay, in this case, I think it's $1,000. So I group them by city. I press next, and in what order do you want to detail records? I'm going to leave it as it is. If you want, I can change the order of to ascending, descending. It depends. A lot more options for reports. Okay, and again, it gives you multiple ways of like how do you want this to be displayed: stepped view, a block view, an outline view. I'm going to keep it as is, stepped. And in case I have a very long or wide list of, if you have too many attributes, you might want to pick landscape rather than portrait. Okay, but I'm going to leave it as portrait because I only have 3 fields in there. Okay, and press next. It's asking me, what do you want to call this report? And I'm going to call this, of course, report rich accounts. Okay, and this is directly based on the query, which is again interesting to note. Okay, it's a view of the data that we created using the query, and I'm formatting it nicely in a report format. Okay, so let's finish, and if you did that right, this is what you see: the information grouped by city, customer name, and account types. So Kim has 2 accounts. Customer city, the city is from Jersey City. Okay, and again, you have the option of making them ascending or descending, and same thing for the customer name. Okay, and this doesn't look like a big deal, but of course it makes a lot more sense if you had hundreds of records in your underlying database. Okay, which is typically the case, hundreds and thousands and even millions of records for a transactional database. Okay, so it can be very useful in that situation. So one last thing I want to show you here is to switch. I'm going to close, okay, and open the reports and switch the view. So we have the print preview, which we saw, report view, you can go to the design view, and just to show you that we can make similar changes. And again, I didn't choose to do the report view because it's much harder to do this, especially aligning the different fields. I'd rather do it in a wizard view, makes it easy for you. So list of, I'm going to call it wealthy rather than rich because it sounds nicer. Okay, so list of wealthy accounts, something like that, something descriptive. Okay, and you also notice that when I clicked on this, you see this whole bunch of properties on the right hand side. We didn't really talk about it. You would see the same thing in the design view even for the form. Okay, and I can, so just to show you that whatever we are doing in MS Access at this point in time is basically barely scratching the surface. It's very, very powerful. Okay, so we don't have to concern ourselves with these options at the moment. For example, you can even have an option to write, we can write code on top of this. If customers clicked on a specific portion on a button, for example, then what actions need to happen, like a submit button, right? So all of these possibilities exist with MS Access. We are not doing that because it's only an introduction, and I wanted you to be comfortable with the interface, and so that you can put in your resume that you have familiarity with MS Access and you can do some basic things with it. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close this as well. It's asking me, do you want to save the changes to the design of the report? I say yes. And if you open it again, you can see that the change I made in terms of the title, you can see it reflected here. Okay, so that brings to an end pretty much the tutorial on reports as well as the tutorial on MS Access. So hopefully whatever we've done so far should be plenty enough for you to be able to proceed on the project. Okay, the assignment is already out there on the website. Please start working on the project or the assignment as soon as possible.